Welcome to Revolutionary Motion, where we show you tennis from a different perspective. If you're struggling to find your optimal contact point and hit your shots clean, here's an easy exercise that you can do anywhere with a friend or with a coach or with anybody that can feed you balls to learn how to hit cleaner shots with a better contact point. We have easier power transfer through your shots. So first of all, in order to do this exercise, the main thing that you have to know is what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that in the contact point that you're looking for now, your racket is horizontal. So what I mean by horizontal is that your racket doesn't point down or up, right? And in this case, we also want it to be parallel to the net. So we don't want the racket to be pointed back or forward while you're making contact. Now, what purpose does this serve? If you're making contact with your racket being parallel to the net and horizontal, you know that you're going to be in an ideal contact point for a shot that's supposed to go straight forward. Now, if a ball, for example, doesn't bounce high enough for you to hit it in this point, but it would be down here somewhere, you would usually hit the ball like this. The racket would be pointing downward. Now you would not have an ideal contact point anymore. The spin would be different. You would even give it a little bit of a curve to the left, probably not on purpose. But you're trying to get these shots to be hit with an ideal contact point as well in a normal scenario. So how do you do that? How do you get the racket horizontal when the ball is somewhere down here? Very easy. You're bending your knees. You're taking a bigger step, like a lunge step. Now you can have your racket horizontal when the ball is much, much lower than when you're standing up here. How do you deal with a shot that is higher up than that? Well, you have two options. Actually, three options, to be honest. Option number one, you take the ball on the rise. So you find this contact point where the racket is horizontal and parallel to the net. Option number two, you let the ball come up past that point, move backwards so far that the ball comes back down into that ideal spot where you can again hit the ball like this. And option number three, and this is the hardest one out there that pros sometimes use so they don't have to back up and put their opponent under more pressure, you're jumping up to create that same contact point. Now, why is it so important for the racket to be horizontal in the contact point to make it ideal? Because if I'm trying to use my upper body rotation correctly and my spin correctly, meaning I have vertical and horizontal upper body rotation, this rotation will make the racket reach its fastest speed, the fastest or the highest racket head speed, in a position where the racket is back to horizontal, because as you can see here with a regular semi-western grip, your wrist will be back to normal. That means your wrist will not be twisted. At this point where the racket is pointing down, my wrist is still twisted back. If I go past that point, my wrist is already twisted forward a little bit. So you're not looking for this specific contact point where the wrist is further forward or further back. The same thing goes for when the racket is further down or higher up. My forearm is twisted. That twist on a proper shot with proper upper body rotation dragging the racket will straighten out towards the contact point. And in order to get the ideal power transfer, which means you get all the power that your body produces pushed into the shot, that will only happen at the moment when your body is back to normal, when your wrist is back to normal and your forearm is back to normal. Because back here my forearm is turned, my wrist is bent. As I go forward towards the contact point, all of that straightens back out. And that means that when it's completely straight, that's the moment when the straightening out motion is done and your wrist and everything else has done its whipping effect. It has created all that power already. If you hit the ball further in front than that, where your racket again is not horizontal to the net anymore, right? In that spot, you will already have lost some power because your racket has started to slow down. If you hit the ball further behind than that, your racket is not at its fastest racket head speed yet. So that means you still have some acceleration to go, which then stops, the acceleration stops in the contact point when your racket is horizontal as well as parallel to the net if you're aiming straight forward and you set your body up perfectly to hit that ball straight forward or parallel to the sidelines. In conclusion, if you're trying to fix your contact point, make sure that you have somebody that can feed you balls, and they don't have to be amazing at feeding balls. But then all you think about is trying to make contact with the ball when your racket is horizontal and parallel to the net. So you can see that when the ball goes straight forward, you did everything correct. And when you have good topspin, you did everything correct. But as soon as the ball goes further to the left or further to the right, that shows you that your timing was off. If the ball goes further to the left than where you aimed, that means your racket has already powered through that contact point without touching the ball. It's pointed a little bit further to the left. If the ball is further on the right than where you aimed, that means your wrist hasn't straightened out yet. So this exercise will help you to consistently get better contact points, cleaner contact points, and transfer more of the power that your body can generate into your shots.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.